you've been here before, lying awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, sometimes even during the day. Your mind replays every mistake you ever made, sometimes mistakes you've made during the day. It runs conversations you will never have. It builds disasters that may never come to pass. This is not thinking. It is called overthinking, and it is spoiling your happiness. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, fought wars across the empire. But his greatest battle was not with barbarians at the battlefield. It was with his own restless mind. He wrote a secret book, a book never meant for the world. It was a book he never meant to publish, a journal of discipline, a diary of war, a manual for conquering thought itself. And today, his words will show you why your overthinking is weakness disguised as wisdom, and how to silence the storm inside your head. Stay with me, because if you can conquer your thoughts, you can conquer your life. Please subscribe and be part of my YouTube journey. Thank you. The world remembers Marcus Aurelius as a philosopher king, marble statue, the perfect emperor. But Marcus was not untouchable. He was a man surrounded by chaos. When he was 40, a plague swept through Rome. Some historians believe it was smallpox. It killed soldiers, peasants, even nobles. Entire families were burned and alive. People were locked in their houses by soldiers in an attempt to stop the infection. In the camps, men coughed blood until their lungs gave out. His co-emperor, Lucius Verus, died suddenly. Marcus was left to carry the empire alone. Imagine that weight. An empire falling sick, enemies pressing at the borders. His own health was at risk, his chest always aching, his stomach aching. He had already buried children. He had lost friends. He knew that at any moment, the disease could take him too. Yet, instead of collapsing, he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That was not poetry. It was not philosophy written for others. It was a whispered reminder to himself that even in the plague, life remained a gift. This is the first truth about overthinking. It is a prison you build yourself. Marcus could not control the plague. He could not cure his army. He could not even heal his own body. But he could control his mind. That was Stoicism in action. A man may lose everything external, but if he keeps his reason and his thought under control, he keeps his freedom. Think of your own life. You may not face the Antonine Plague, but you lie awake at night, sick in many ways. Your mind loops endlessly. What if I fail at this job interview? What if she doesn't love me back? What if I lose everything I've worked for? Your body lies still, but your mind burns. That is the prison of thought. Marcus knew it well. On the frozen Danube frontier, barbarian tribes gathered beyond the river. His soldiers dug trenches in the mud. Food ran thin. The empire stretched to its limits. And in that soldier's tent, Marcus wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Listen to those words carefully. He was the most powerful man in the world. And still he reminded himself, not even an emperor controls the world, only the mind, only judgment. That is the second truth about overthinking. It is wasted strength. You pour energy into shadows instead of battles. You fight ghosts instead of enemies. The Stoics trained for this. Epictetus, a slave-turned-philosopher, told his students, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. The thing itself does not crush you. It is the story you attach to it. Think of a man at work. His boss criticizes him. That is the fact. But his mind takes the fact and multiplies it into torture. I am worthless. They will fire me. I will never recover. The fact is one brick. His imagination builds a prison out of it. Or think of a man with a woman he desires. She delays answering his message. That is the fact. But his mind spins. She is laughing at me. She is with another man. I am nothing to her again. The mind becomes the enemy. This is why Marcus filled his journal with reminders. Not to others, no, but to himself. He knew how easily the mind betrays its master. Modern psychology confirms what Marcus wrote. Overthinking is a loop of fear, and only fear. The brain, trying to protect you, replays danger over and over. But the protection becomes poison hard to get rid of. Instead of preparing you for reality, it locks you into imagination. Marcus's genius was not in avoiding fear, but in disarming it. He did not say, "Do not be afraid." He said, "See the fear for what it is, a judgment, a thought, and remember that you can revoke it at any moment." That is the Stoic weapon, awareness. When the thought arises, name it. This is fear. This is pride. This is desire. The thought loses its poison when exposed. You can write it in your phone note app or on a paper. When you name what you're feeling, it is easy to tackle it. Picture Marcus Aurelius again. The emperor of Rome, wrapped in a cloak in the dead of winter, writing in Greek by lamplight. His generals sleep. His soldiers cough in their tents. Outside, enemies gather to attack at dawn. He cannot know if the empire will hold. Yet his hand moves steadily while writing, dipping feathers in an ink. If you are pained by anything external, the cause is not the thing itself, but your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This was not written to impress anyone. He never planned to publish it. He was reminding himself, even here, even now, I am free. The emperor of the known world had to remind himself daily that his mind was his last fortress. And so do you. Your mind is your everything, your fortress. The prison of thought is built in silence, but the key has always been in your hand. Marcus did not escape anxiety. He fought it. He did not wait for peace to arrive. He created it, thought by thought. So the next time you feel your mind spinning, remember him, not the marble statue, not the emperor in gold, but the man in a soldier's tent, sick, tired, surrounded by death, reminding himself of the same truth you must remember. You cannot control the world, but you can control the way you think about it. And that control is enough to break the chains. But why do men fall into this trap? Why do we chain ourselves in the prison of our own thoughts? Marcus understood the answer. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Behind every restless thought lies fear, not fear of death itself, but of life, of stepping forward, of acting, of being judged. It may seem strange to speak of Marcus Aurelius and fear. He commanded the greatest empire in the world. Statues were raised in his honor. His name carried weight across continents. Yet, he was not spared the tremors of the mind. He was sometimes afraid. He feared for Rome. He feared for his children, many of whom he buried while still young. He feared betrayal. And eventually, his fear came true. One of his most trusted generals, Avidius Cassius, declared himself emperor, believing Marcus had died. For months, Marcus lived under the shadow of civil war. How did he respond? He did not rage. He did not spiral in sleepless torment. He wrote to himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Marcus faced real dangers, disease, betrayal, war. But he knew the greater enemy was not outside the palace or even outside the room. It was inside his skull. Long before Marcus, Epictetus, once a slave, had said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." That was the seed Marcus planted in his own mind. He could not stop the betrayal of Cassius. He could not stop death from visiting his household. But he could strip the fear of its sting by naming it for what it was. A thought, not a fact. You are not emperor of Rome, but your fears are no less cunning. A man prepares for a job interview. The fact, he must answer questions. The fear, I will embarrass myself. They will laugh at me. I will never recover. A man waits for a woman's reply. The fact, she has not answered. The fear, she's with another man. She has forgotten me. I am nothing. A man opens his bank account. The fact, the balance is low. The fear, I will end up broke, homeless, humiliated. Do you see the pattern? The facts are small. The fear makes them monstrous. Marcus reminded himself daily. The plague was not fear. The betrayal was not fear. The silence of the gods was not fear. Fear was his judgment. And the same is true for you. Modern psychology calls this catastrophizing. The mind, designed for survival, searches for danger. But the same instinct that once kept our ancestors alive in the wild now traps us in civilized cages. Your brain was built to ask, what if the predator attacks? What if the tribe abandons me? What if the food runs out? Today, the predators are job loss, humiliation, heartbreak. The tribe is social media, and the food is status, money, validation. The fear is the same. The theater is modern. Marcus Aurelius fought this with philosophy. He built walls of reason against storms of imagination. You have power over your mind, not outside events. He repeated it because he knew fear repeats itself. Only discipline can answer. When Avidius Cassius rebelled, Marcus had every reason to spiral into fear. Civil war meant thousands would die. His own throne was at risk. His family could be slaughtered. But what did he write? Not rage, not panic. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." He refused to let fear drag him into cruelty. He refused to let imagination dictate his judgment. He waited calmly. And within months, Cassius was killed by his own men. The war ended before it began. This is the difference between a man ruled by fear and a man who rules himself. Today you face no rebellion of generals, but your fear is just as deadly. Fear of failure keeps you from starting the business. Fear of rejection keeps you from approaching the woman. Fear of judgment keeps you from speaking your mind. And so you live half a life, not defeated by enemies, but paralyzed by fears. Marcus called this the true death. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. This is why men overthink, because they are ruled by fear. Fear of being weak, fear of being unloved, fear of being forgotten. Marcus knew it. Epictetus knew it. Every Stoic knew it. The cure is not to erase fear, but to master it, to call it what it is, a judgment, not a fact. So the next time your mind spins with what ifs, remember, you are not your fear, you are not your imagination, you are your actions. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, betrayal, and war without surrendering to the theater of fear. You face smaller battles. Do not let them make you smaller than he was. Marcus Aurelius did not hide from the truth. Overthinking cannot be silenced with comfort. It cannot be cured by distraction. His answer was brutal, almost military. Act, he wrote. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Overthinking is endless talking with yourself. Stoicism is cutting through it with action. Marcus refused to live in what-ifs. He focused on what is. He wrote, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Reason, discipline, action. These were his weapons. The Stoics developed tools for overthinking. 1. Name the thought. When a fear rises in your mind, do not let it hide in the mind. Label it. This is fear. This is pride. This is desire. Marcus turned that into practice. Naming the thought stripped it of power. Modern psychology echoes this. Cognitive therapy calls it labeling. When you say, this is just anxiety, your brain begins to separate from it. 2. Test control. Once the thought was named, Marcus put it to the test. Is this in my power? If the answer was yes, he acted. If the answer was no, he let it go. This was the essence of Stoicism. Epictetus, the slave philosopher Marcus admired, taught, some things are in our control and others not. 3. Return to duty. Finally, Marcus turned his mind back to duty. He asked, what is the next right thing? When fear about the empire rose, he turned to leading his legions. When grief for his children broke him, he returned to the Senate. When betrayal haunted him, he continued to govern justly. This was his cure, not the absence of thought, but the presence of purpose. He wrote, do your duty. Do it without complaint. Do it as if it were the last act of your life. Action was not a distraction. It was medicine. Now take these 3 steps into your own life. A man lies awake fearing rejection. He names the thought, this is fear of being unloved. He tests control. Can I make her feel what I want? No. He returns to duty. I can focus on my work. I can train my body. I can master myself. Another man replays a mistake at work. He names it. This is pride wounded by failure. He tests control. Can I undo the past? No. Can I improve tomorrow? Yes. He returns to duty. Write the report, learn the skill, move forward. This is Stoicism alive, not dead words on a page. A daily practice for men trapped in their own skulls. Overthinking is endless preparation without battle. It tricks you into feeling busy while achieving nothing. Action breaks the loop. The brain cannot ruminate while the body works. When Marcus shifted his focus back to duty, he starved fear of its fuel. Modern science calls this behavioral activation. The Stoics called it virtue. When plague emptied the streets of Rome, Marcus sold treasures from the palace to fund relief for the people. Think of that. The emperor himself auctioning his family's possessions. Because action, not overthinking, was the cure for despair. When betrayal struck, he did not spiral into paranoia. He pardoned many of those who followed Avidius Cassius. He chose justice over vengeance. Because doing the next right thing mattered more than imagining endless plots. This is how a man fights his mind, not with fantasy, but with principle. The cure for overthinking is not peace. The cure is purpose. Name the thought, test its control, return to duty. This was the practice of every Stoic soldier of the mind. So when your skull becomes a storm, when fear and shame and desire howl in circles, remember the emperor in his tent, surrounded by plague, war, and betrayal. He wrote to himself, and to you across 2,000 years, do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others. When you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility, why deprive yourself of the time for action? Stop rehearsing. Start living. You have walked through Marcus's world now. The plague that swept his empire, the betrayal of generals, the restless nights in a soldier's tent, and the storms inside his own mind. And you see the truth. Marcus Aurelius was not free of overthinking. He was its prisoner too. The difference is that he fought, daily, brutally, without compromise. That is why his meditations survive. They are not polished philosophy. They are the diary of a man who refused to surrender to his own thoughts. And you? Overthinking is death before death. It kills you slowly, thought by thought, night by night, until nothing remains but regret. The Stoics were not dreamers. They were warriors of the mind. Epictetus, a slave, said, "Make it your study, then, to confront every harsh impression with the words, 'You are but an impression, and not at all what you seem to be.'" Marcus lived that study. He named his fears. He tested what was in his power. He returned to duty. And in doing so, he turned storms into stillness. This is the way forward for you. The command to you. Stop being the man who rehearses disasters. Stop being the man who loses sleep over shadows. Stop being the man who mistakes imagination for reality. Be the man who acts. Be the man who rises. Be the man who carries duty like a sword. Because the truth is this: no one will remember what you worried about. They will only remember what you did. Overthinking is weakness. It is a man drowning in water he created. The cure is not to wait for peace. The cure is to act with purpose. So when the storm rises in your mind tonight, remember Marcus, whispering to himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Now take that line into your own war. Do not waste another night chained to phantoms. Do not waste another day in paralysis. Stop rehearsing. Start living. Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.